Made on Zencastr.
The all-in-one podcasting platform really does make making podcasts so easy. All the details are in the description. Hello and welcome to Fit for My Age, the health and well-being podcast from Abeceda. I'm your host, Michael Middleward, the Managing Director of Abeceda. Today, I'm going to be learning why well-being should always be front and center from Nick Clement, who is the founder of CHI Education, a provider of extracurricular activities for primary schools in South Wales. I know South Wales quite well, but now I only get to visit. And when I do visit, I arrange my travel at the Ultimate Travel Club because that is where I get trade prices on trains, flights, hotels, and so many other travel related purchases. You will find a link and a membership discount code in the description. Now, let's make a podcast that will be well worth listening to, liking, downloading, and subscribing to. Very importantly, on Fit for My Age, we don't tell you what to think, but we do hope to make you think. Hello, Nick.
Afternoon. How are you? You okay?
I am very well, thank you very much, Nick. I hope you can say the same.
Yeah, I am.
Please, could we start with a sort of an overview, history of who Nick Clement is and how he came to set up CHI Education?
Yeah, no problem. So I was a primary school teacher for over a decade here in South Wales. Luckily enough to work at one school for 8 years in a very underprivileged area. Decided to leave the profession just after COVID, when the new curriculum for Wales came in. Something I was very excited about, something I was really engaged with, because I thought here's an opportunity for us to deliver an education system kind of the way that we need to for the children that we have, our clientele. And I was going through a difficult period at that time. My dad had only died a couple of years before, so I was still going through the grieving process, and decided that the school were going to go a different direction to the way that I wanted the education system to be in the school I was in. So I left, created the company Confident Healthy Individuals, which was originally planned to have a variety of different teachers going into schools, delivering amazing lessons that were to do with science or history or geography. But I slowly began to see the damaging effects that COVID had and the lack of confidence and the anxiety children had. So that's where the confident, healthy part came in. And we changed the plan so that we now go in to schools, deliver cross-curricular wellbeing projects that at the heart of the projects tries to make the children more confident and more healthy mentally and physically as well.
Because confidence is a large part of mental well-being, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so important, because we've noticed a high number of children, especially teenagers, who are suffering with anxiety and mental health issues. Whereas our take on all of this is that if we can stop the problem before it begins in primary school, and even in early years, we've started beginning with working with nurseries now, then we've got a better chance of fighting it.
With the COVID, for a young child to be told, keep your distance, is going to take longer for a child who's not got experience of life where we weren't keeping a distance to then get into not having to keep a distance
Yeah.
after they've been told at a very young age that you mustn't get too close.
Yeah, that's very true. And the socializing aspect as well, going through that period of time where some of those children needed socializing the most, because, their brains are like sponges at that age, and to not have that opportunity is, yeah, it does have a damaging effect.
One of the things that I liked about your website was the whole sort of idea that you're talking about well-being before anything else. Although you're talking about it in the context of children in primary school and now early years as well, I think it's a lesson that is worth having and putting front and center throughout the entirety of our lives, not just in a small sort of section, those 5-6 years at primary school.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's a phrase in education called Maslow before Bloom. So it's saying that children need to feel safe, cared for, and connected before they can access learning in any meaningful way. And I'd say a similar thing with adults, really, that you can't pour from an empty cup. And especially teachers, the pressure they are under is you need to look after yourself first, rather than trying to achieve something when you're not in the correct frame of mind. It's applying your oxygen mask as if you're on a plane before applying it to others.
Yes, as someone who's traveled as much as I have with work and heard that expression so many times, it's sort of like ingrained into me. The first thing you do is think about, I need an oxygen mask. I need that before I can actually help anyone else. Without it, I am either useless now or I'm going to be useless very, very quickly. And understanding that idea of well-being before anything else is probably the most powerful lesson that someone in their early years of education can probably learn.
I completely agree. There's a rush to push academic success and progression too early, especially with children who might not be emotionally or socially ready. And then we wonder why they disengaged, act out, or fall behind. And the truth is, before we can teach phonics or times tables, we need to teach respect, empathy, manners, and the core values of the school.
Yes, I'm so pleased that you said mention manners. You've got to teach people manners at an early age because it gives me an opportunity to tell one of my favorite stories, which I have no idea whether it is true or not, but I heard it on the TV and it's sort of one of those things that just stick with you. So if you'll give me a couple of minutes, I'll tell you that story if you like.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Well, it's a story from a long time ago, really, but Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, the grandmother of our current king, King Charles III, was in Clarence's house where she lived, and she was having a dinner party one evening to which a Hollywood actress had been invited. And this Hollywood actress had just had her first child. Sitting at the dinner table, looked at the Queen Mother and said, Your Majesty, I'm a new parent, and I'm just wondering, what advice have you got? What should I teach my child first? Of course, protocol means you're not supposed to really ask a member of the royal family a direct question like that. So that there was this silent hush fell over the table as everybody sat there thinking, "Oh, what's going to happen now?" One of the people who knew all the rules sort of said, "I think, Your Majesty," and the Queen Mother interrupted him and said, "I know exactly what she means. Just give me a second to think of an answer." After a couple of seconds, the Queen Mother came back with manners. Manners are the most important thing to teach any child.
Mhm.
Everybody goes, "Oh, interesting." And then the actress came back with a second question, which was, "Why is that, Your Majesty?" And the Queen Mother said, "Because once you've taught a child good manners, you've given them access to the world. There is nowhere that they cannot go, no one that they cannot meet, because good manners and courtesy open doors for you." And that stuck with me, especially I remember it most often when someone is being rude or discourteous or just selfish and think, yeah, manners will open the world to you.
That's a lovely way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's true. It's true. Manners are the way in which you open doors. It's the way in which you make people feel comfortable around you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes a big difference, isn't it? We've been looking at Japan's approach recently, and
Hmm.
we've seen that children are first taught there how to be respectful, care, and be a part of a caring community before formal academics begin. It's just all about emotional regulation, shared values, mutual respect. As you say, and that kind of foundation sets children up not just to learn, but thrive. And we've seen some of the amazing Japanese videos of them playing rugby away in a stadium and staying behind and tidying up all their own mess and things like that. So it's definitely working.
Yes, and I can see why that would work. But actually, what you're talking about there is getting a child at an early age to understand how to interact with other people and how to do that in a respectful way that values that person as much as they value themselves. And unfortunately, there are too many people in too many parts of, let's say, the Western world where people put themselves first,
Mhm.
which is then the source of conflict. But we're talking about values, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, the understanding of values and beliefs, and more importantly, respect. So we have one rule in anything that we do, whether we go into schools or whether it's the camps, and that is be respectful, because that is so broad. So you're being respectful to yourself, being respectful to others, being respectful to the adults, being respectful to the environment. So there's a lot to unpick there just from the one rule. And some schools will have 15, 18, 20 rules, and the child is going to be completely overwhelmed because there's so much depth in just that one rule that you might have.
Yeah, just explaining it. I'm remembering back to my secondary school days where the word respect was interpreted as you must finish every sentence that you say to a male teacher with the word sir.
Yeah, that's conformity, isn't it? Rather than respect. Respect still needs to be earned, but you can still respect yourself and respect others around you, as you were just saying, with lovely manners. It goes a long way.
An awful long way. I suspect from my time as a secondary school governor, one things that I noticed was that children get one message at school and a different message at home. How do you overcome those sorts of things?
Yeah, that is a large growing problem that we see in. Before, I would say that there was respect for the teacher, and whatever the teacher said, then the parents would agree with the teacher. And there seems to be a huge shift of the blame game for teachers, and there could be a number of different reasons. But my personal opinion is that the values and beliefs of the school don't correlate with the parents' values and beliefs. So if a parent has had a bad time in school, a negative experience at school, then it's quite easy for a parent to pass on those negative messages to their child. The child then is going to have those core values and beliefs that the teacher doesn't know what they're doing, or the teacher shouldn't be giving advice to them. And it's going to be extremely difficult for the school and for those teachers to try and change the values and beliefs of that child. So it's very important that the family and the school come together to agree on a set of principles, core values, and beliefs that work for both of them.
Yes. Listening to you there, I was thinking back to my school days and then my more recent exposure to education system as a school governor and thinking like that during my school days, if I had to think of one word to describe some, I almost said many, but some of the teachers, it would be that they were bullies.
Okay.
And yet, when I was in the school governor, that didn't seem to exist in the same sort of way. There's much more of a collaboration in terms of education. But when you talk about parents having had negative experiences themselves, one of the challenges, I suppose, is that parents need to understand how the education system has changed.
Yeah.
And that means getting involved in the education system and understanding what is happening at school with your child. I think looking back, if you went home and you said the teacher has been nasty to me, the parent would say, well, what have you done? And you'd say, and then the parent would sort of say, well, that really was, I'm going to punish you again.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd rather not say, wouldn't you, actually?
You'd rather not say, you're still like, don't tell me mom, please don't tell me mom type of stuff. But nowadays, the many cases that I was involved with, it would be this pupil has been misbehaving, gone home, told their parents, and the parents go, how dare you tell my child off?
Yeah.
And that starts at a young age. That's not just secondary schools, that starts at a young age. But the education system has changed from what many people, many adults experienced. And that's one thing. But I take this point of like, it's making sure that the values of the school that the parent decides, selects for their child, because parental choice in education now means that many people can send their child to the school that they want to rather than just the one that is closest. So if you make a conscious decision to send your child to a specific school, then before you make that decision, you've got to make sure that the values of that school align with your values,
Yeah.
and then use the school, I suppose, as a way of reinforcing the messages that you as a parent want to give to your child.
Yeah, you've summed it up perfectly. It's just that communication, isn't it? It's understanding and being able to go to the school and say, "Oh, we're having these issues at the minute," and the school having the understanding because you've got that amazing communication between the family and the school, and you both can see these are the beliefs that we have. You know, you don't have to have many, like I said about the rules. Having 3 or 4 strong values and beliefs. So, say it could be resilience, say it could be something to do with applying yourself. Then it's the parents understanding. Well, this is what the school does, so therefore these are the expectations on you, and having those conversations at home.
Yes. And it all starts, I suppose, with understanding the values and then this idea that before we worry about any exams or passing any tests or assessments, we're going to make sure that you're fit and healthy, both physically and mentally, because someone who is fit and healthy, both physically and mentally, is going to be better in class, be able to learn more easily, and will actually achieve more.
Yeah.
That's what you're. That's I'm paraphrasing your website. So yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I've been reading it, and it's a fascinating website, chieducation.co.uk. Basically, what you are talking about is that before we can actually expect a child to learn, we have to demonstrate that as educators, as parents, we respect them, but that doesn't mean that we're going to be their best friend. We are adults, they are a child. We have a role to play in their development, and that is this putting your well-being first, front and center, and then we can do the things that we need to do. But like you say, that rule, you've got to make sure that somebody feels safe and secure and confident before you can actually move them to a situation where they can blossom.
Yeah, I think this sums it up quite nicely, which is the child feels secure and supported, and the parents feel valued partners of the school.
Yeah, because it's a you know the Welsh valleys are full of villages, and there is that African saying that it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? If the communication's not there, there's so many barriers that you need to get through just to work together in sync.
Yeah. So what we're saying then is that before we can educate a child, we need to make sure that they feel safe, confident, that they are healthy, that they are in a situation where they've got no worries, so that they can then focus on their education and on learning. In the same sort of way, with my HR professional's hat on, I am saying that before we can expect an employee to shine, we need to make sure that they feel respected, that they feel valued, that they feel safe and secure, and then we'll be able to get them to do more. It's the same situation. HR, employment, education, we're talking about the same challenge and the same issue.
Completely agreed. Going back to my saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
You certainly can't. But at CHI Education, it seems that you don't have many empty cups in the children that you are working with. They're getting involved in all sorts of different activities.
Yeah, we have a massive range of activities now. So as I said earlier, we do cross-curricular wellbeing projects inside schools. I've also co-authored a series of mindfulness books. They are stories that have mindfulness techniques woven into them. So these are books that will help children calm down after break times if in school, and help children sleep before bedtime as well. So we'll have like dragons doing dragon breaths. We'll have certain actions you've got to do on the page. You're fully focusing on being present in the moment. So we have the books. We've just started our charity called Confident, Healthy, Active Me. We've seen as well as a huge increase in children becoming inactive because of I would say, the cost of living crisis and technology issues. So we're working with schools developing new ways and early years settings and how children become more active. Our biggest initiative at the minute is active assemblies. So we teach teachers and students to deliver their own active assemblies, but more importantly, we go into the primary schools, deliver an active assembly for 15, 20 minutes where we just get children moving, because we've seen a massive decline in afternoon break times being taken away from children. And it goes back to our point again, where children need to feel safe, secured, happy, and we know the significance and the importance of physical exercise. So why we are currently taking that away from children does not make sense to me at all.
No, and it's a habit that people need to get into at an early age. Otherwise, in later life, you can actually have quite a lot of different health issues because you've lost that healthy physical exercise routine. Pick one of your favorite type of things that you deliver and tell us about that.
So the cross-curricular projects that we deliver in schools, they are a complete range of different activities, so projects. So it might be Lion King, The Greatest Showman, Paralympics. What I love about those type of projects, so they could be over a half term, which is 6 weeks, 1 day a week. It could be a full day where we just go into a school and do something for a day. And what I love to see is the engagement levels that children have, because we're doing something fun, something that's child-led, child-friendly, and isn't your stereotypical numeracy or literacy lesson. I love seeing the confidence levels increase in a child in just that short period of time. So normally, if we're doing a performing arts kind of project, I've had it many times where the children will refuse to showcase any of the performances that they've created, and then by the end of the time that we've worked with them, they want to perform on their own. We'd never make a child, perform kind of on their own. We'll always split them up into groups and do a little performance. But even then, the children have become so anxious, and concerned about performing in front of just a small number. And I firmly believe that the more you put children in that situation, the more confident they'll become and realize it's not as scary as they first think.
Yeah, putting yourself out there, having the confidence to stand up and do something in front of other people is a great skill to have, but it only comes with having the confidence to want to have a go in the first place.
That's so true. I find it really difficult speaking to adults. So if I'm in a large group of adults, it's something I've had to work on personally. And it's strange because I've spoken in front of 300 teenagers who are extremely judgy, and I don't have an issue at all. But with me, for some reason, maybe it's because it's my peers as well. I find that quite difficult, and it's just something that I've had to do. And I use cognitive brain therapy strategies, in
Hmm.
which is what we try and teach the children as well, is to understand that you're not going to die. Nothing dramatic is actually going to happen to you. It's just your body trying to get you out of a situation that it doesn't want to be in, and you know how amazing you'll feel afterwards. And that's what I love seeing with those children, that they beat that horrible part of their brain inside that's telling them not to do it and to get upset and emotional, and then they absolutely love it then once they've achieved it and they want to do more.
Yes, you must get as well feedback from parents after and from schools after a child has been through one of these CHI education events. What sort of things do the parents and schools say?
Yeah, parents have been lovely actually with the feedback that they've provided. They've come up to me and they've said, "Oh, is my child having you today? They love having you. They can't wait until they have you next," and that's really nice. And a few parents have also said they've seen, in just a short term of us working with the children, they've seen an increase in the need, the want to come to school, and the engagement levels, which is amazing because we know that's a huge concern here as well as attendance levels. But yeah, the same with the books. We've had feedback from quite a few parents saying, "Oh, it's their favourite book to read, especially before bedtime, because it really helps calm them down."
But it's a book that's almost like an action learning book.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. So it's an opportunity for the child just to completely zone in on the book because you need to do actions on the page for something to happen on the next page. So, for example, you swish the curtain to the left, or you blow and you blow the leaves away. So you need to be fully focused, and it is very hard to get children, especially at a young age now, with the attention spans that they have to concentrate for 2 or 3 minutes.
But you're providing an alternative to the technology and an alternative to them sitting around and doing nothing.
Exactly. That's exactly the point, is that I love technology, don't get me wrong. There's a massive place for technology, but sometimes you just need to try and be more present in the moment, not have that blue light emitting, especially at that young age, and
Yes,
before bed, and have a calm, cool time.
yes. It seems that there is an impact on the way in which the child views themselves.
Yeah, what's really nice to see is that especially if the children are very excited, I'll read these stories and you can see their whole body language completely change. So they might be a little bit tense to start off with, and then you can see that their shoulders drop and relax because we do breathing techniques, we do tension exercises, and it's really nice to see that if we do it at the beginning of the day, it really helps and supports them be ready to learn.
I've learnt an awful lot this afternoon about the work that you do, and I know our audience, my audience, that one person will have as well. But if you are a parent of a primary school age child or an early learning child, and you're listening to this and thinking like, okay, what do I do? How do I get the head teacher of our primary school interested in this as well? What sort of processes have parents or schools gone through to sort of justify the expense of this type of activity? And
Yes, that's a very good question because especially here in Wales now, schools are in a deficit. So it's very difficult for us to get into schools at the minute. It's just trying to explain the benefits of the range of activities that we offer, and that schools can see the different elements that we have and the holistic approach that we have, and possibly apply it for themselves as well in a different way, because we know there's a need, but unfortunately funding is getting worse and worse.
I'm also thinking that this type of activity at this early stage in a child's development has a long-term impact. And then when I'm thinking about all the employers complaining that people leave school with GCSEs, with A levels, they're academically qualified, etc., 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 but they lack the confidence to actually have a conversation with an adult at work. They lack the confidence to behave like a team player. They don't understand teamwork, all these sorts of things. And yet, what you're describing is an opportunity for people to learn those skills in a very coordinated way, but in a very relaxed way at a very young age.
Yeah, the best way I can sum it up is that children will develop the sense or the understanding of how their brain works, because we're all wired very differently. We all have our core values and beliefs. And if we can get through to the child to understand the reason for their thinking and the reason why they do certain things, then yeah, that is extremely valuable. And as I said earlier, with the cognitive brain therapy strategies that we teach, is understanding that it's okay to feel these types of emotions that we have. It's how we deal with them that's very
Yeah.
important.
So you're teaching primary school age children how to understand how their brain works through play type activities.
Yes, through cross-curricular type activities and activities that will allow them to be creative and, more importantly, improve their confidence.
Yes. So where can people find out more information about all of this?
So you can go to www.chieducation.co.uk, which is chieducation.co.uk, or if you type in on Google Nick Clement and then Chi, there'll be quite a bit of information that will pop up.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Nick. It's been just so interesting. Really do thank you for helping me make such an interesting episode of Fit for My Age. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. I am Michael Millward, the Managing Director of Abacida, and in this episode of Fit for My Age, I have been having a conversation with Nick Clement, the founder of CHI Education. You can find out more information about both of us at abacida.co.uk. There is a link in the description. I must remember to thank the team at Matchmaker.fm for introducing me to Nick. If you are a podcaster looking for interesting guests, or someone who, like Nick, has done something very interesting, Matchmaker.fm is where great guests and great hosts are matched. You'll find a link and a membership discount code in the description. At Fit for My Age, our aim is proactive, positive aging. Knowing the risks early is an important part of maintaining good health. That is why we recommend the annual health test from York Test. York Test provides an assessment of 39 different health markers, including cholesterol, diabetes, vitamin D, vitamin B12, liver function, iron deficiency, inflammation, and a full blood count. The annual health test is conducted by an experienced phlebotomist who will complete a full blood draw at your home or workplace. Hospital standard tests are carried out in a UKAS accredited and CQC compliant laboratory. You can access your easy to understand results and guidance to help you make effective lifestyle changes anytime via your secure personal wellness hub account. There is a link and a discount code in the description. That description is well worth reading. I'm sure you will have enjoyed this episode of Fit for My Age as much as Nick and I have enjoyed making it. Please give it a like and download it so that you can listen anytime, anywhere. To make sure you don't miss out on future episodes, please subscribe. Remember, the aim of all the podcasts produced by Abacida is not to tell you what to think, but we do hope to make you think. Until the next episode of Fit for My Age, thank you for listening and goodbye.